Well, welcome everybody. My frequent guest is our guest again today. That's Gabrielle Rutan. Raise your hand, say hello.
Hello, everybody.
Gabrielle is the director of the Gary Craig Official EFT Training Center in the Dutch language. Hometown is in the Netherlands and so on. And she is an MD by background, which is going to be useful here because I'm not an MD. And so it gives us, different perspectives. So I have an interesting, our topic, first of all, is the unseen therapist shows us other related issues. What that means is we may be asking the unseen therapist, our spiritual healer within. We may be asking the unseen therapist for help on a given issue. And next thing you know, she's reminding us, oh, there's this issue. Maybe there's this issue as well. And she's there to help us be complete in all of this. And so that saves us potentially a dramatic amount of time in detective work trying to discover what's behind this particular issue and so on. It's just that there, once you're used to it, once you get training and you get skills in this area, she'll start pointing this stuff out to you, and it allows us to be more thorough and so on. So anyway, I'm going to ask your thoughts on this in a minute, Gabrielle, but let me read from this email. First of all, she says, I'm a newbie. Okay. I've been at this about a week. Okay. And I've been going through the lessons and so on about our advanced course and all that. And then she has this question. She says, I have noticed as I work on issues that other issues come up. That's what I was just talking about. We're working on this specific event. Next thing you know, there's another one. Okay. I may be at a 10 on the original specific issue that I'm working on. And as I'm asking the unseen therapist, for help on that, she will bring other issues up. I write those down. Sometimes it seems like I can only clear to a 6 or so, starting at a 10. Now it's a 6. And other issues keep intruding. Well, that's the unseen therapist saying, you got this one, you got that one. Need to look at all this to be thorough. So the intruding, so I work on that one to see if it will bring the other one down. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Well, yeah, that's interesting. That's a really good thing that unseen therapist is showing us this stuff. Like I said, it saves us mountains of time in some cases and trying to find stuff. But then it can get, until you get good training, a little confusing. What do you do with that? So, Gabrielle, you've had this experience with yourself and other clients, I gather?
Yes. And I think, if she's a newbie and she's already, reporting that other stuff shows up, she's doing quite well. I would like to point out. I also like that she says, I'm writing them down, because here's the thing. If you started at 10 and then you bring this down to a 3 or 4 and other stuff comes up, do write them down. Because if you, if it's a 3-4 and it doesn't go down any further, one of the other issues that came up needs attention. So my advice always is then just leave this situation for now. Take one of the other ones, work that down to 0, and then go back if need be.
And let me interject here, Gabrielle. Something that tends to happen here is she'll go from a 10 to, she said a 6, but you're talking about 3 or 4. So she goes from 10 to a lower number, let's say 3 or 4. Okay.
Right.
As a newbie, you're not always able to distinguish whether that 3 or 4 is on the original one, or it's a 3 or 4 is on the intruding one. It's the newbie has a hard time distinguishing those two. But the idea is, okay, here comes another one now. You're at a fork in the road now. Should you stay on the original one to go to 0, or well, I'll give you my experience here. Sometimes they will stay on that one to try to go to zero. Okay. But the other one just keeps popping up. Okay. It's saying, no, I'm going to stop my feet and I want your attention. Okay. So we'll deal with the new one, the intruding one, let's say, and bring that one down to zero. And sometimes when they do that, the original one goes to zero. Give me your thoughts on that.
Yes, that means that they're closely related, and the earlier one feeds into the one that you were working on originally. And so you need to step out of that one, clear house on the other one, and then go back. And then when you properly test, relive the moment, and there's nothing there yet, you're finished. If there's still some charge, you need to finish that one. So I would like to pound the table for do both, but work until there's absolutely zero. Test them thoroughly. And there's one other thing I would like to point out, because she says so other issues show up, and this it's a good sign if unseen therapist hands them out and says this needs attention. I would like to point out that some people are just, even in the meditation, are analyzing what was happening and thinking about it. So because our long-term memory works very associatively, other things might pop up because you're still thinking about what you're meditating on. That would activate other memories for sure. So I'm just pointing out that the more you can trust the process and just leave it up to unseen therapist to do whatever is necessary. You don't even have to notice anything, but just leave it up to unseen therapist. But if something pops up, that's for sure another situation that needs attention. Do both, but test both. They should both be zero.
Yeah. And so let me also point out about the testing. It's one thing to test right at the moment while you're bringing an unseen therapist in. You start at a high number and now you're lower, your zero, and so on. Seems to be gone. But I've often found that sometimes I find that while it seems to be gone, if you test the next day or next week, you bring it up again, you run the memory, you talk about it, whatever, and there's more intensity. You want to test not just then. You want to test. You let time go by sometimes. That's a better test. And sometimes I find this quite a bit actually. Somebody may go from 10 to 0 during the session. Yay! Oh, it feels so good. Oh yeah, I can't even. Doesn't bother me now at all. And then the next morning they run the memory, and now they're at a 4 on something. Well, I thought it was all done yesterday. Well, no, but what I caution about, I said, when you run it again tomorrow or the next week or whatever, when you run it, if you get intensity, chances are the intensity is some new aspect you didn't put on the table the first time. Maybe as you were being rejected by your father over something, you weren't putting on the table the fact that your brother was laughing at you, okay, all this time. That wasn't on the table to begin with. And now when you come back to it the next day, you're tuned into your brother laughing at you. That's a different, it may seem like the same because it's part of the same event, but you didn't put it on the table specifically. Now your brother's laughing. Now you got a new event. So it's very important to recognize these aspects that show up. That's one way you test well and get thorough with all this. Thoughts?
Yes. I agree entirely. So here's the thing. You have to relive the moment. So close your eyes, step into the moment, look through your own eyes, and just ask yourself, who's present? What do I see? What do I hear? What do I taste? What do I feel? What do I smell? So use all your senses. So take a little time to really be in the moment so that you don't skip important aspects, and you don't have to do them all at the same time, because first work down one aspect, the way your father is looking at you, for example, and he's saying something, work that to 0, and then you turn to your brother, laughing at you behind his back, or whatever the aspects are. So just take your time to realize it should be short, because there should be only one crescendo, but there could be more players active in your little scene, and also all the senses. So just allow yourself to take a moment to realize, what is my sensory input here? Because that tends to make it a little more thorough, and then you could just test everything.
Yeah. And just to add to that, it could be something, an aspect, not only like your brother, laughing what you hadn't thought about to begin with. Okay. But it could also be a shifting in emotions. You could have been angry at this to begin with. And then as you run the emotion, or you run the event tomorrow or next week, you're getting intense, but you feel guilty about it. And that wasn't even on the table to begin with. You never even thought about guilt then. But if you run it for the original anger, well, chances are the anger, why would I be angry kind of response. But, I probably caused this, and different issue. Okay.
Yeah. So take your, sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, you go ahead. You go ahead.
No, I was, I'm stealing your thunder.
Well, okay. So you just want to now take the guilt response and dig into that one as though it's a new issue, because in one sense it is a new issue. It's a guilty response to the same event, yes, but we call that another aspect. And then you may after that have a fear response of some kind. Okay. Possibly. Okay. Now, typically, having other aspects show up is fairly common. Having more than 2 or 3 would be uncommon, in my experience, anyway. But somewhere in there, you need to be aware of that possibility, because you keep wanting to be thorough. All that is taught, in our advanced training. And by the way, below this video, there's some essential links. There's a free ebook that gets you started in all this, called my book, The Unseen Therapist. There's a free newsletter, and there's some advanced training you can sign up for, and so on. So, Gabrielle, anything else?
No, I just want to encourage, because she's a newbie, that practicing your testing is absolutely worth your while. Because just take some time, and just, if you've worked on anger, just ask yourself, is there any other emotion or reaction in that exact moment? Because I agree entirely with you, Gary, that you need to focus to one crescendo, and in one little peak experience, there hardly ever are more than 3 emotions. So if you keep adding emotion to it, you're probably shifting to other, a moment later, or a moment earlier, or maybe even another memory. So focus on one little moment, and just, thoroughly test and see, is there any reaction? Do I have any reaction still in this moment? That should do the trick.
And the more thorough you are, the freer you are. And that's why we call EFT emotional freedom techniques. I had to put that little plug in.
Yes. Okay. And then one last thing is, don't test to see whether you're finished. Test to see whether you can find something else. So
Yeah.
I think that's another, nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, well said. I'm a great one for testing, as you know, and so are you. But you always want to look for what's not done yet. You always want, that's a mindset you have. What's not done yet. Too many people have learned EFT in such a superficial way, and they kind of aim at symptoms and stuff like this. Oh, I got a result. Oh, we're done. Okay.
Yep. Done.
No. That's the shallow end of the pool.
Yes. Let's dive deep.
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Anything else, Gabrielle?
No.
All right, guys. See you next time.